Welcome back, everybody. And today we're going to be covering one of the topics that's very near and dear to my heart, which is how can we, pretty much for free in most cases, and with very little training, live a much longer, healthier life? Well, the simple answer is movement. And is all movement created equal? Are there some that are better than others? And how do you know what to do to be able to achieve a longer, healthier life? Well, that's what we're going to be in store for the next little bit. And when you're done listening to the podcast today, you'll be able to really understand that this is going to be a customized approach for you, and there is no one right or wrong answer. So,
why does movement matter?
So movement, which we can think about in a lot of different ways, is so important because it's how we put stress on our bodies. And so we think of stress as bad, but in reality, stress is how we grow. So if we don't put stress on our muscles, one, get so stronger, but also two, they atrophy and get weaker. If we don't put stress on our bones, not only do they not get stronger, they actually get weaker over time. But when we don't put stress on our heart and lungs and brains, the same thing happens. And so stress to our bodies is a way of signaling to the body what is required to get it to function how we want it to function. So we can think of that as the same way as sending a child to school. And so we put a load onto that child of learning new information. And then each year you give them a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, in a lot of different ways of different subjects. And now all of a sudden you've got this like little kiddo that's like reading and writing and doing math and like is spouting out all these science facts. And you're like, who knew? This is pretty great. So our bodies, we need to treat the same way. So it's just like there's different subjects in school, with movement, there's different types of movement that give us different types of benefits. So cardio is going to be when we elevate our heart rate in some way. So the stress is something that's going to get the heart rate to elevate and our breathing rate elevates. And so think walking, running, biking, swimming, doing like any kind of like up and down stairs for extended periods. That is going to put a lot of work onto the heart, the lungs, and that's going to increase the amount of what we call oxygenated blood, which is blood full of oxygen. And it's going to go all throughout our brain, which is going to coat our brain with really, really healthy blood cells. And then it's going to go all through our organs and our muscles and tendons and ligaments. So it's super helpful for like that generalized health. And we want to make sure we keep our muscular system nice and strong as well. So that's going to be where we do activities where we strain that with like weights or bands, body weight support exercise, things where we're doing movement that's like, think repetitions. Like I could do this movement for 10 repetitions and then I'm kind of tired and want to take a break. That's going to be some sort of a strengthening based movement. And then we also want to think about coordination. So what are things that are going to make our brain be very aware of where our body is in space so that we maintain good, what we call proprioceptive awareness. So think of things like playing a sport, dancing, Tai Chi, yoga, anything where you have to be very aware, otherwise you'll fall. So that keeps that part of that system, that part of your brain nice and healthy, and it prevents that movement breakdown that happens where we start to see people getting a wide base of support and shuffling and not necessarily feeling confident with like walking over uneven ground, pausing to step over something instead of the confidence to step right over. All of that is typically very preventable just with how we strain our body throughout our life. So those are going to be like the three probably most common ways to strain the body: elevate the heart rate, challenge muscles, and then challenge, coordination of some sort. And you'll see a huge difference in how you age and just how you feel today by having some sort of a balance of those throughout the course of the week.
So how much do we actually need to move?
So a good general rule of thumb is ideally about 30 minutes a day. is like our good minimum movement that is like super healthy for everybody. Now, there's some people that train heavy for like a race or a competition, or a sport, and they'll, train for an hour or 2 hours. And that's fine. That's going to be more of a performance-based goal versus just a longevity goal of like, I just want to live a long, healthy life. And I'm going to try and prevent what I can prevent and just have really solid quality years. Think 30 minutes a day.
Is every movement a good movement?
So movement's not going to be like a good or bad because that's going to be like kind of a black and white thinking. So there's some movement that's really good for some people, and that same movement might not be the best for somebody else. So whatever you have going on in your body, we call that comorbidities. So if you have significant arthritic changes in your joints and maybe your back hurts, maybe doing things where you're like running and jogging and we've got increased ground reaction force might not be what's best. Walking, we're going to have decreased ground reaction force, so that might feel better. And so that exercise of running might be great for one person, but not good for somebody else. Somebody that's more on the loosey-goosey side and has a lot of mobility, lifting really heavy and controlling really heavy amounts of weight, might be a type of exercise where they have an increased tendency to strain. And so they might want to do more like body weight support and like dumbbells, free weights, bands, things where it's going to be a lot more controlled movement. And so that way you just strain and you're less likely to strain. So it's not necessarily good or bad. I've had so many people over the years be like, wait, you run? Isn't running bad for you? It's like, okay, so tell me like a runner that you know that's died prematurely. And they're like, uh, well, but they have knee pain. I'm like, so does like so many people that have like total knee replacements. So is it the
Yep.
running that gave that person the knee pain? Is it an imbalance in their training? That happens to a lot of people. Runners are notorious for not cross training and for overtraining and not working on mobility, strength, or stability, right?
So, what are some practical tips to help create that balance between our movements?
So that's where it's like you just want to think about in your week, like how are your days looking? Like how are they different? So which days during the week is it a little bit easier to get the cardio in? So whatever works for you for cardio. Could be walking, biking, running, like anything where you're just doing something sustained so that heart rate stays elevated, ideally for 30 minutes. So there might be days where it's like this works better in my schedule because of X, Y, or Z. And then other days, getting some of that strengthening in or balance, coordination. There might be a class that you like going to. There might be more daylight available, better temperature based on time of day. It all just kind of depends on your schedule. I like alternating. So I have a running routine where I do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning typically is my run days. And then because on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have to leave the house earlier than Tuesday, Thursday. So then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I take Friday off for Monday, Wednesday, then it's easier for me to do my strengthening after work. So I just kind of tie in what am I already transitioning with? So I already have to transition to go to work and to come home from work. And so I just stack my exercise either on the front end of that or the back end of that. And then if I have time, right now my schedule works better to do my coordination-based stuff after I come in for my runs. So that's when I kind of really challenge some of the yoga-based stuff. I use that as my cool down. And then I also work on my mobility. I just stack it right into the run. So that's kind of what works out for my schedule. You want to have like a day or two off, depending on like work, but you still want movement in that day. So you still want to like go for a walk, do some gardening, like really still have like some sort of like movement. You don't be sedentary on your off day. You just want to be lighter than what your typical movement might be. So that way you just recover.
So, how far should we push ourselves with our movement?
So you want to be in that range where you're uncomfortable, but not in pain. So it's like if you're like working out and you're like, I could do this all day. Yeah, you're not going to get as much out of that. Like you want to have to think about like, I'm going to want a break soon. So it's that we call it like rating of perceived exertion. So a 0 is like I'm lying on the floor. A 10 is like I could do this for one more second and I am done, you know? So a 10 is like a full out outburst, like this is it, 1 rep max. So typically when you're starting with activity, probably start around like a 4 to 5 of like I could keep going for a while, but like I'm gonna get used to this movement first because you're gonna get sore, especially if you're strengthening. Then you want to kind of bump that up into like that 6 to 7, you know? So around there is going to be like solid for longevity. Like it doesn't need to be an 8 or 9 out of 10 intensity every time you work out. Again, unless you're looking for performance and training for like a specific activity. But if you're like the rest of us, where I'm like, listen, like I just want to like, I want to have fun with my kids. I want to work out in the backyard. I want to enjoy my runs with my running partner. But I'm not looking to like be the best person out there and potentially get injured. I want to have fun while I do it, but I'm working hard at the same time. So like a 6 to 7 for call RPE.
Gotcha. So, Dr. Jess, how long have you been a physical therapist?
So I've been a PT for 15 years, and I was a personal trainer before that a while.
So,
6 or 7 years, I think.
so you've seen your share of patients with any kind of degenerative disease.
That's like my whole day.
Uh, so how can movement affect someone with a degenerative disease?
Like in recovery or like was it preventable?
Either or.
Yeah. So pretty much everybody benefits from movement. I mean, you're not gonna go wrong. Prescribed movement when you have something going on is really important because if you do have call it like just specificity of illness and things that are going on that are painful, movement imbalances. You want to try and get those corrected. So, and we correct with movement. Otherwise, if you have like, let's say you have a leg length discrepancy, so one leg is shorter, one leg's longer, so you stand and your hips are like this, which has now created a scoliotic curve. And now we've got a bursitis on one side and we've got knee arthritis on the other side. And then you're like, I'm going to start a walking program. Probably not going to go well. You're all the pain is going to be worse. And you're like, well, moving is good, walking is good. Yet it for you, it might not. We might have to get that leg length corrected, calm down the bursitis, get the quads stronger, do our best to, as much as possible, get some postural stability to stop the worsening of the scoliosis. So there's going to be a lot of specificity to how we do that. And then we can get you into a walking program. First this, then that. So there's a good amount of that in physical therapy. We're going to build our foundation and then we can grow off of it. But sometimes we're just missing the foundation. So, which happens all the time. I mean, I had an undiagnosed leg length discrepancy for 7 years and I had hip pain. Um, and, you know, it, it is what it is. It wasn't until, I was out of PT school and was working with one of my coworkers, and I was like, "Can you help me with this?" Like I was doing all the strengthening, all the stretching, everything you would think, and he was like, "You have a leg length discrepancy. It's not a lot, but let's just try this." Finally got the finally got that chronic irritation on the side of my hip to calm down. So sometimes it's just foundationally you don't have what you need. Get the help, build the foundation, and then movement becomes totally fun again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's the littlest things. I find leg length discrepancy is I probably catch it once a month, when I do an eval. It's like you can just I've caught it so many times now, and because I dealt with it for so long, it's like they start talking and you're like, there's got to be like there's some sort of imbalance. Like it has to be leg length because it's like that leg, it's either the ankle, the knee, it's the hip, it's like that leg that my whole life, and that's the only bad leg. I'm like, it's not bad, it's your leg. It
Right.
carries you all day. Um, so it's for me it's my right leg, that's my short leg. You land harder on that short leg, and so that's where you get the like I had knee issues as a kid and hip issues as an adult, and most of my joints are fine. People's like, oh, your hip is bad. Okay, joints aren't bad. Okay, it's not a bad hip, and it misbehave. It's just we get breakdowns and it hurts. And so the better we can understand that, the better we can then move forward with adding movement safely to our day and to our week.
So, what are some practical tips that we can take and add these, movement strategies to our daily lives?
So I like starting small, like really, really small. So with all of my patients, I start with 5 exercises that I teach them, not more than 5, and just get really comfortable with those. So that way there's no pain while you do it. You understand, okay, this is core, this is leg, this is shoulder, like whatever it might be, and start with just that motor awareness, body control. Where am I in space? And so, does it feel right? Does it look right? Use a mirror for biofeedback. If the person that, like, say you're watching some videos, if the person's doing the exercise and you look completely different, try and figure out, what am I doing differently than they are? Do I feel the right muscles doing the work? Like, I'm trying to use my shoulders to lift weight overhead, but I just feel my neck getting tight. Well, that doesn't seem right, right? Like, why should my neck hurt if I'm trying to strengthen my shoulders? Well, there's very common compensatory patterns that happen, which is why we end up not feeling good after we exercise when it's really just how you're doing it. Or your back hurts after you're trying to strengthen your hamstrings. It's like that doesn't make sense. So, how you do exercise is really, really important. And if you feel like this is happening, you just can't get over the hump, then work with a personal trainer or work with a physical therapist. It's like it's okay to ask for help. And then with cardio, same thing. Start small. So if you don't go out for walks at all right now, don't go walk a mile. Just walk. I use the neighborhood as an example. Walk 2 or 3 houses down, 2 or 3 houses back. See how you feel. Don't get yourself so far out that you're like, oh crud, and just kind of build up your distance to the point where you're doing a half mile and then a mile and whatever speed it is till you get to 30 minutes. But incrementally add it, and so that way you're never feeling overwhelmed. Like you don't have to be perfect. Little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. I've had to tell that to myself all the time. It's like, you know what? I'm out here. Like, why am I like, get out of your head? Like you're fine. It's like if I'm not running fast enough, or if I didn't do the distance I thought I was gonna do, or I need to stop and walk and get some water. It's like you're fine. You're moving, your heart rate's elevated, it's a beautiful day. Like, just have fun. And all of a sudden your mood is like do 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 do. Like, yeah, I'm fine. Like
It's all about celebrating the wins.
every win, like even if it's so small, like you got out there. Like last night, I was kind of avoiding it. Um, we really needed to mow the lawn. There's no time this weekend, and I was like, you know what? That's gonna be my 30 minutes movement. I'm gonna mow the front yard. I got home and I was like, whew, I don't really feel like mowing the front yard, but I was like, you know what? I said I was going to. I'm gonna do it, and I did. I was like, oh, I actually feel great. It was a really nice night. Saw all the neighbors, said hi to everybody. The sun came out. He was helping. Oh, it was great. So it's like if you just get out there, like then it's like okay, you gotta get over the hurdle of that. Like, I could be productive inside doing anything else. And then you're like, nah, no, I'm good. Like I've got daylight. I've got everything I need. So that was my 30 minutes.
And this is 30 minutes.
It is, right? Get a little pep in it, get moving, and you're good.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Jess.
All right, so if this is information that you found helpful, share it with somebody that you know, help to keep them encouraged, and stay tuned for other episodes where we've got all sorts of information, whether it's just John and I talking or we're interviewing somebody. And the whole point is to understand what are either free, inexpensive, easy things that we can do that are accessible to the masses to help lead longer, healthier lives. I promise, like, it's the little bits and those little changes over time that add up, and you will notice a difference.